Welcome back, accounting students. We are working on chapter 10 and we are all the way up to lesson 4 in chapter 10. We are looking at posting from a cash receipts journal. There's two lesson objectives in this particular lesson, posting cash receipts to an accounts receivable ledger and a general ledger, and then preparing a schedule of accounts receivable. So as we're working through the material here in this lesson, I'm going to just remind you that this is going to feel a lot like what we did with accounts payable and dealing with the transactions from those sub-accounts in that dealt with accounts payable. Okay, so posting from a cash receipts ledger to an accounts receivable ledger. The first thing we're seeing here is the cash receipts journal, and it's showing us the information that we previously wrote down in our cash receipts journal, and then we're going ahead and putting that information in the accounts receivable ledger. So we can see that there's a transaction for Lake Automotive. We're doing that on the 15th of November. Remember using the cash receipts journal, and we're on page 11. You can see that the accounts receivable credit is now being posted to that accounts receivable ledger, and we're going ahead and adjusting the account balance in this accounts receivable ledger for Lake Automotive to reflect that payment that was posted. Now if you look, you can see the November 1 balance on this ledger was $381.60. So we can see that Lake Automotive has paid us the $381.60. Again, the customer number for Lake Automotive is 130, and we're just going to go ahead and for audit purposes, we're going to make sure that we post that customer number back on our cash receipts journal. Then at the end of the month, we're always going to want to make sure that we total, prove, and rule our cash receipts journal. So just like we were doing with our cash payments, looking at our cash receipts, we draw that single line, whoops, I went too fast, sorry. We draw that single line indicating that we know we're going to be totaling information. Then we go ahead and we add up all the information above the line and come up with our totals. Once we prove that everything matches, that's when we go ahead and put that double rule line at the bottom so that we know that our totals are good before we move forward. So you can see our accounts receivable credit, our sales credit, our sales tax payable credit, and then we have that sales discount debit and our cash debit, and our debits total our credits, so we're in balance on our cash receipts journal. When we prove cash at the end of the month, this is when we go ahead and take all of our cash activity information and update it and then reflect that we have the same amount of cash in our bank that we say we have, or we have the same amount of cash in our checkbook balance on our register. So we look at our cash on hand at the beginning of the month, we total and add all the cash we received, we subtract any cash we paid out, and that should equal our checkbook balance on the next unused check stub. So the balance information we have on our check stub, it should tie out to what we say here when we're proving our cash. Now, the next thing we want to be thinking about is posting special amount column totals of a cash receipts journal to a general ledger. And so what we're looking at here is our cash receipts journal that shows us some general ledger accounts. Our accounts receivable credit that we have, our sales credit, our sales tax payable, that's a credit, our sales discount, that's a debit, and then the cash, that's a debit. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to post all of these special amount columns onto our general ledger accounts. We're going to post them at the end of the month because those are the totals. And you can see then that we're going to make sure we note our cash receipts journal, page 11. And we're going to go ahead then and transfer our totals. So the cash receivable is a credit, the sales is a credit. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure that we update all of the balance information in our general ledger accounts. Again, then we make sure to take our account numbers and update that information on our cash receipts journal just for good accounting and record keeping purposes. You can see then we also are doing the same thing for the sales discount. We're doing it for cash, and that all of those general ledger accounts are being updated. We have our completed accounts receivable ledger, and this, remember, this is the breakdown of all of our individual accounts receivable that feeds into our total accounts receivable ledger. So listing all of the customer accounts, the account balances, the total amount due from all of our customers, this is called our schedule of accounts receivable. Sometimes we call it the accounts receivable trial balance. And it's just a really nice report to have because we can go ahead then in one location look at where all of the money that is due the company is listed. And you can see 3 Green Products has a total accounts receivable amount of $10,498, but we can also see which accounts individually owe us the money, and currently we can see that there are 2 particular accounts that owe us a lot of money where other ones not so much. All right, audit your understanding questions. Which column of the cash receipts journal do we find the amounts that are posted individually to the accounts receivable ledger? That's going to be in that accounts receivable credit column. Another name for the schedule of accounts receivable, sometimes you're seeing it as the accounts receivable trial balance. One of the things that you want to be thinking through as you're doing the audit your understanding and the work together on your own APLIA would be the idea that should you have any concern if you cannot prove cash, and why or why not, that might be a problem. So that might be a kind of one of those big ideas that you want to be thinking through. From here, go on ahead and do forms online. You can do the work together and on your own questions. And after you finish up with everything for 10-4, go ahead and do the application questions. You can go ahead and proceed after the application to Mastery. And then we have some source document problems in addition to challenge problems for this chapter. Good luck!